A topic we haven't touched on recently is thoracic rotation. Thoracic rotation is really important early in the throw to allow your shoulders to get closed away from the target, and then at the end of the throw to allow a full arc of deceleration for your arm. So if you don't have thoracic rotation, you're going to be implicating your throw in terms of injury and in terms of speed and performance. So we got to make sure we have full active and passive range of motion in thoracic rotation. In this video, I want to show you 3 different ways that you can improve your thoracic rotation and then actually transfer that to the throwing motion. If you've been following us here for a while at the OAI, you know that we're big on acquiring range of motion passively and then reinforcing that actively and then strengthening an end range. What we've been experimenting with recently is actually putting athletes in positions where they have to activate all the way to the limit of their range of motion for a set or for a certain duration, and then we actually have them go in passively and mobilize either their spine or mobilize the joint, and then go back to a different active motion that requires even more excursion or range of motion into the restriction. So a nice easy way that we've actually been working on some thoracic rotation while incorporating some different components of pure hip extension, hip flexion, some of the things that actually happen in the throw, is that we actually put them up on a box, one foot, the other foot, and we try to get them to actually rotate without rotating their pelvis into a position of rotation. So we know early in the throw, when the leg is up and I start to go forward, my chest starts to rotate away from the target. So I can actually incorporate that into this exercise here. I got to start with my hips facing forward, and something I like to do is actually turn my toes inward. So my foot on the ground, my toes are actually pointed this way. Now from here, I take a bottom up kettlebell here. So it's a little bit unstable, makes me contract all of my core musculature, and I do an up and under press. Now if my foot is rotated out, my toes are pointed over there now, it's no longer the same exercise. So toes rotated in. Now the rotation has to happen through my spine. Because I've flexed this knee up, I've actually stabilized the lumbar spine somewhat into flexion. As I do this, chest is puffed out. Incredibly difficult exercise. So you can see I don't get a ton of range of motion, and the reason is because my pelvis isn't rotating. I'm doing very little through my lumbar spine, and I'm doing a whole heck of a lot through my thoracic spine. So that's number 1. Activating that range. You can get 6, 8, 10 of these. This is actually a 13-pound kettlebell, and that's sufficiently difficult. And at 6 reps, I'm fairly fatigued just by talking through it with you guys. So you got that. Then we're actually going to passively mobilize the thoracic spine to increase rotation. So we've just done an activation warm-up technique to actually increase our rotation or our ability to rotate through the thoracic spine. Now we're going to do our trusty open book stretch. Now we do this a bit differently. Legs up on the foam roller. You're going to actively roll or push your knee this way while I actively reach back towards that wall. Now what I've done here is I've made sure I'm not extended. I am in a neutral position, away from extension. If I have to, I bring this shoulder forward a little bit. I reach that way and I reach that way, and I should feel a stretch across here, sometimes a little bit into this area, the QL area, and I'm going to hold this stretch, activating this way, trying to untwist like a towel. I'm going to hold that stretch for anywhere from 30 seconds up to 2 minutes. And so there's our activation technique while we're passively elongating. So we're letting gravity we're letting gravity rotate us, but we're also a little bit of activation into that range of motion. Works very, very well. And then we can also say, hey, I'm fatigued today, I'm tired, I've done a lot of training, whatever. I can just do this as a passive technique as well. So Then I go actually into an active technique where I'm going to elongate and maximally rotate into a new range of motion. So sticking with our thoracic rotation away from the target when the leg is up, or when I have one leg up, which is what happens as I start to move down the mound, and then my pelvis starts to rotate the other way, I say, okay, I've done some stuff with the leg up, let me train it in that motion just to give you guys an idea. I'm working on balance, I'm working on all sorts of things. So in reality, in pitching, what happens is as I rotate away from the target, my shoulders rotate away, my hips rotate away, and then they both begin to rotate towards the target at the same time. The difference is my hips rotate faster towards the target than my shoulder. Early in the throw, my shoulders rotate faster away from the target than my hips, which basically allows me to end up in this position where my shoulders are more rotated away from the target than my pelvis is, because I did a top-down rotation where the shoulders rotated than the hips. The other way is a bottom-up rotation, which is initiated from lower down. So I get a band here. We use a lot of Gray Cook SFMA bands. This is just a TheraBand because I wanted to show you guys something that you probably all have access to. So it's a red band. It's not too difficult. And what I'm going to do, and I'm going to flip around and I'm going to try to show you what it looks like from behind, because I think this is often the best view. My shoulders and my chest are going to rotate while my pelvis doesn't, and my hands stay right out in front of my sternum. So you can see as my palms are facing each other, I'm going to rotate my chest away while I keep my pelvis, my knee facing that way. I'm rotating my chest away from the target. Now, if I want to make this even more specific, I take the band lower, hopefully it stays here, and I'm going to actually go on a diagonal lift. I've switched my hands now, up on a 45, and this is incredibly more difficult. So this takes in a lot of thoracic rotation, takes in balance, lower extremity function, core contraction, all the way around to give you guys the best possible active, usable range of motion. And so we'll sit here and we'll do 2-3 sets of 10 each direction, or one direction, depending on what an athlete needs. If you like this video and you're going to benefit from these thoracic rotation techniques, or you're going to use them with your athletes if you're a trainer or a physical therapist, then go ahead and give us a like on the video. It really helps us know which videos are our best videos, but it also helps us to create content in the future and reach more people like yourself. Feel free to subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.